If you saw my monologue on Monday, you know that I was a little upset with Donald Trump for insulting a friend of mine. So, at the end of that monologue, I had a few choice insults for the president in return. I don't regret that. So while I would do it again, I would change a few words that were cruder than they needed to be.
All right, here in Internet Movement, they were a lot cruder than they needed to be, and that CBS late night host should lose his job. That might be a little bit extreme, but it is the sort of stuff that does enter the purview of the man who runs the FCC, Ajit, who caught up with me a little while ago on Fox Business Network, which you don't get, you should demand. And the issue then front and center, Colbert, and whether he went too far. Take a look.
If we do get complaints, then we will take a look at the facts that are alleged and apply the law. And the law here has one set of rules with respect to indecency that apply before 10 p.m. And after 10 p.m., there's a set of rules relating to obscenity that apply. And so, again, we'll take a look at the facts in the law if the situation so requires.
All right. So past 10 p.m., and this is past 11:30 at night, Eastern Time, then there are Colbert or any personality on broadcast is free to sort of be a little looser with the language.
Well, the framework that we apply is traditionally certain indecency rules that apply that before 10 p.m. And then again, obscene language is what we regulate after 10 p.m.
All right. So, and I know you've been busy on this net neutrality thing and weighing all these potential mergers. I understand that. But you heard a little bit about what he said as head of the FCC. You couldn't not. Were you offended?
Well, again, I haven't viewed the clip, and so I don't want to prejudge.
Really? You have that strikes me as odd.
I'm a pretty busy guy, believe it or not, and chasing after two kids at home also keeps me busy.
All right, I hear you. But it is unlikely that any punishment is about to be meted out to Stephen Colbert outside of in the public community. If there are those who want to protest his show, they're free to do that, but there's no action on the part of the FCC.
Well, if we do get complaints, then we want to take those seriously, and so we'll evaluate the facts and make the appropriate decision.
We have a number of deals, mergers. They always seem to be happening, but the latest battle for Tribune that involves Sinclair and even my parent company working very closely with the Blackstone Group. Gone are the days, I guess, Chairman, that we had that 39% ceiling. You couldn't go beyond that, or station owner couldn't go beyond that penetration. Right. Is it safe to say, though, that it can't be 45%, that it can't be in all the major markets, that if there's overlap in big cities, important cities like New York and L.A., for example, that you would try to slap down?
Well, going forward, we have a two-track approach. One is to make sure that we set rules of the road that reflect the marketplace of today, as opposed to the marketplace in 1975 or 1997. And secondly, if there is any transaction that's presented for our review, we want to apply carefully the public interest standard. We want to make sure that the consummation of that transaction would be good for consumers and good for competition. If it's not, then we have to take the appropriate action.
So when you see some of the controversy that surrounded this network and the crackdown on some abuses and abusers and personalities and our former chairman, does that enter into your equation when you look at deals, much as that is entering into the equation potentially when Fox Entertainment is looking to buy the rest of Sky in Europe?
Well, to me at least, transactions should always be evaluated by the cold, hard facts that are presented to us on paper. We want to make sure that we are taking into account all of the relevant facts, screen out some of the noise that sometimes attends these transactions, and really try to figure out, is this deal good for competition and good for consumers? And that is not the most exciting process, but it's critical, I think, for ensuring that the marketplace continues to be vibrant.
All right, so you do not share that European style of management on this type of issue, that the acquirer be a good steward, a good moral steward?
Well, we do have certain rules that require a person to have the character and fitness, so to speak, to hold a license from the FCC. But what we want to make sure is that we don't look at extraneous facts that aren't relevant to those core determinations of what's in the public interest.
What's the biggest change you've seen since taking over the FCC? Of course, now you and your predecessor obviously didn't always agree on how to go about running things, Tom Wheeler. And I'm just curious now, if it was a heavy touch of government under his stewardship, are you going to be Mr. Light Touch or no touch at all? How do you square it?
To me, at least, it involves modernizing our regulations to match the marketplace that we're in. In a lot of cases, what I found is that the SEC's rules have been on the books for decades without a considered reevaluation of, do these continue to be necessary in 2015 or 2016 or 2017? And so what we want to make sure is that our rules are consistent and comprehensive and modern, because otherwise we are standing in the way of investment and innovation in networks, and that's the last thing I think the regulator should want to do.
All right, we've had a lot of email and other interest on that interview with Ajit by the man who runs the FCC. The full interview is on our Fox Business.